We would like to welcome you to Humanities Day 2025. This event is sponsored by the Great Questions Foundation, which aims to amplify the value of a humanities-based curriculum at community colleges. We are pleased, thrilled really, to welcome the National Youth Poet Laureate, Stephanie Pacheco, the CUNY Chancellor, our faculty and students, and the President of QCC. Thank you.
So I heard you were told that this was a big deal, right? I hope now that you're in the room you realize that it really is a big deal. We are thrilled to have the National Youth Poet Laureate and a CUNY First student, Stephanie Pacheco. We are also thrilled to have the Chancellor, Felix Matos Rodriguez of the City University of New York as a participant in today's event and to give remarks to you. And I want to give a special thanks to our three faculty who are amazing English faculty, right? But also highly dedicated to students, right? So many events on campus, the three of them are involved in it. So thank you to Professors Cunahan, Schreinermakers, and Lago. And then I hope you use this moment, right, to feel the power of poetry and get your own spark and find your own voice, because the power of self-expression is really powerful and desperately needed in these times. So enjoy the event. So now I am inviting up our CUNY Chancellor.
Thank you. Buenas tardes. Great to see everybody here. Good afternoon. Great to see you all here. Before you get all afraid, President Mangino mentioned that I was invited to be part of the program. I am not going to recite poetry, because if not, you all be running out the exit doors, right? And this would not be the kind of celebration that we want. So I'm delighted to be joining this event. This event combines also two wonderful celebrations in a way. April is National Community College Month, right? So give yourselves a big round of applause. And all of you who do great work in our community colleges, and your Poet Laureate is a fellow student from a community college, not Queensboro, right? So please don't, let's make sure that we keep it friendly, right? But, from Borough of Manhattan Community College. But it's also National Poetry Month. So we thought it'd be a great way to combine those two things to be joining here today. You're going to be introduced to the Poet Laureate, and you're going to be on, and there's going to be a Q&A, so I don't want to say too much and take too much of her mojo. But one of the things that is absolutely lovely to me is that desire to capture her everyday life, to capture what she was feeling, to capture her emotions, to capture some of the things that she was experiencing, and put them into a really powerful art form that has been with us with a very, very, very long time. So I want to thank Stephanie for that great courage to do that. Coming in front of the public is also showing vulnerability, right? So I want to thank you for that, and exposing some of the things that are your innermost joys or fears or concerns is always, a little bit complicated. But like President Mangino said, I encourage you all to find a way to channel those things, and poetry and writing and different arts forms might be the way you do that. There might be some other ways in which you all do that, but that is a key element of our humanities, a key element of what makes us special. So I hope that you continue to find a way to do that. You are fortunate to have incredible faculty and staff members here at Queensboro who are here to precisely help you in that journey and to be part of it, coming from very different perspectives, let it be the arts and the humanities, languages, it could be the sciences, it could be through involvement in student affairs, the different things that allow you to give voice to your individuality, voice to your concerns, and to your assets. I also want to join President Mangino in thanking the 3 faculty members who helped to organize this event, Professors Cunningham, Schreinermakers, I got that right, and Lago, which is easier for me to pronounce. But again, thank you for your great dedication and work for putting together events like this. You would also notice that they mentioned that they were part of a grant and a program. That also meant that they took part of their time to be looking out there for opportunities to fund these things, to write the proposal, to do all the complicated step works that get into, it's great to get the money and then you have to deal with how do I spend the money and all those things. It is, it is work. And so I want to thank them because they're out there knocking on every door to find resources for, at the end of the day, make wonderful experiences like this be available to all of you. And kudos also to the administrative team here, led by President Mangino, that works together with the faculty to be able to do that. So I'm delighted to be here. I'm so much looking forward to listening to Stephanie. But, Stephanie's going to do her thing, right? So she needs to rest her voice. Because we don't want her to be like, do her thing. So to allow her to rest, we prepare a video. So you can get a little bit of a taste of what's coming your way, right? And I understand that if I tap twice, the video will appear. That's what they told me. No, I have to click twice. No te digo yo que sé.
Dear CUNY, I don't know of any other school that runs its city like you, that paints its town with its face like you. Everywhere I turn, every building is a student. Every train car is a classroom. Every leader I need already lives in me. Every philosopher I know wears a tote bag and hangs out at my library. My favorite scriptures are those I have to reserve using my school library's website. But at least the only loan I've acquired is at my school library. The only debt I owe is to them, to you all, the magnificent holders of knowledge, you all who remind me to dream just like our city lights, to be that kind of impossible. This poem is for everything that keeps a boat floating, for the makers and shakers, for the thinkers, the dreamers, for those of us who dare.
We are thrilled and honored to have Stephanie Pacheco here with us. Not only is she the current National Youth Poet Laureate, she's also the recipient of the 2021 Princeton Prize in Race Relations, the 2023 New York City Youth Poet Laureate. The list goes on. She's also a leading organizer and activist working against educational injustice. Stephanie, we are so excited.
I hope we don't need to, I hope the mic is on. Hello. Oh my goodness, I'm like flustered after watching the video because I'm the kind of person who's like, I don't want to hear my voice on a recording, so I haven't watched it fully. But that was kind of good. That was good. Shout out to CUNY by students. Oh my goodness. All right, okay, it's time to get serious. Hi everyone. Thank you all so much for such a warm welcome. It is my immense honor to be here with you all today. Again, I am Stephanie Pacheco. I am your National Youth Poet Laureate of the entire United States. That's a big fancy title with a lot of syllables. I know, it's like a full sentence, it's crazy. But what it means is that I am someone who cares tremendously about poetry and about my community. That's all it translates to. I am a Black and Latina girl who grew up in a low-income household with a single mother in the South Bronx, which is very far away from here. I had to take a helicopter to get here today. I did. The South Bronx, my hometown, is the poorest congressional district in the entire country. I am also, of course, a lifelong public school student. Hey, BMCC. Shout out to CUNY, big up us. I say all of this to say that whether I've known it or not, I was always going to be a poet. And not because I went to like a fancy private school when I was like in elementary school and I had like creative writing classes when I was 6, but because every part of my identity has given me a story worth telling and a narrative worth remembering. That is what makes me a poet, nothing else. So I am so excited to be here and to be sharing some poetry with you all today, which is truly the best introduction I can give to anyone of my heart. So I was told that I gotta talk to y'all about my story. It's on the event agenda, so I have to do it. I can't pretend not to. So let's start with how I started writing poetry. A rather mundane story, but truly a beautiful beginning. I started when I was in middle school-ish. I was in my English classes while I was in middle school, and I had teachers who made it a point to teach us about really monumental figures in American literature and in Black American literature, people who we could see ourselves in. So my journey as a poet started with August Wilson and with the Harlem Renaissance and that kind of thing. It started with like the Where I'm From poem prompt and that sort of introduction. But at the time, I say because I didn't know that that would be the beginning of such a journey. I didn't know to call it poetry, what I was doing then. I was just doing my homework assignments and hoping that I got a good grade on them. So I didn't know ever to call myself a poet, and much less, I could have never dreamed of the great lengths that poetry could take me to. When I got to high school, I started getting heavily involved in student activism and advocacy, which you heard a little bit in my bio. I was someone who was furious at the state of public education because I knew how worthy me and my classmates were. I only ever saw us as excellent. And imagine my frustration when I was 15 and I realized for no particular reason the schools that I was going to weren't getting the kind of funding that we deserved, the kind of resources that other students had. And so I was rowdy and hot-headed. My goodness, shout out to 15-year-old me. I started finding community in other young people that were like me, that wanted to make a change in their local school communities and beyond. And we started advocating and organizing together. We started putting together these crazy events for these tiny itty-bitty teenagers. We were doing some crazy stuff. We were really trying to get our feet on the ground and fight for the kind of city that we wanted to live in. And being in those spaces, I found myself in really big crowds, kind of like this one. I'm nervous in front of y'all. I found myself in front of really big crowds. And I realized that this social movement that I was organizing with and organizing for wasn't complete without the stories to put everything into perspective. Today we're talking about what is justice. I believe in social justice movements. You know, often we let our fights be fueled by the ridiculous data and the percentages and the numbers that show us the ways that discrepancies exist in our society. But I say that that isn't complete without the stories to back it, without the real life lived experience of human beings to show proof of the current state of the world and also allow us to dream of what can be different. And so, as a young person, I didn't know that I could do anything with my Where I'm From poem that I was writing in the 8th grade and continuing in the 9th grade. I didn't know that that meant anything until I started taking those poems in front of crowds and seeing how it resonated with other people. And so when I was about 15 and 16 years old, I remember the first time that it happened. I was at a locally organized event trying to get resources to other high school students like myself about like internships and SYP and that kind of thing. You guys know. And I went up there, paper shaking in my hand, and I did it even though I was afraid. And I swear that day it felt like all of my stars aligned. Because who was gonna tell me that me sharing this poem about being from the South Bronx, about hip hop and deli sandwiches was going to resonate so amazingly with people? That was something that I thought was just mundane, just in my day-to-day, not anything that I thought was worthy of a poem. But once I presented it to people, I realized that so many of us were waiting for our stories stories to be recited on stage. And at that point, this kind of English assignment kind of thing became much, much bigger than myself. From that point forward, I discovered the world of poetry slams and that kind of legacy. I'm sure there's somebody who's gone down very specific YouTube rabbit holes in here. If you know button poetry, you know what I'm talking about. I got introduced to this legacy of oral storytelling, and I realized that it was something, that moment when my stars aligned, that was a moment that long outlived me. I came from a long legacy of people who used their stories as resistance, used their stories to move a room, and I was not standing alone in that feeling. So as I continued to get myself immersed in that legacy, I realized how powerful it could be. I started competing in poetry slams, going to workshops, seeing what all this hoopla was about, and truly at this point, the rest is history. I now have the honor of having held a title as the New York City Youth Poet Laureate and the first ever Youth Poet Laureate of the entire state of New York. Then I represented the entire northeastern region of the country, and I became a finalist for the National Youth Poet Laureate title, and I'm the first public college student to ever hold it. And that is not something that I take. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That is not something that I take lightly at all. It means the world to me to be able to represent my community, because I'm literally just a girl. I do poems and stuff, but I promise I'm literally just a girl. I am just like a student that be late on discussion boards sometimes. I shouldn't say that. I submit my discussion boards on time, and I exceed the word limit with all of my philosophical thoughts. Thank you. But truly, I think it's important to remember that even though I have this super, prestigious title, I am simply a reflection of everyone around me. I'm a reflection of everyone in my community. I'm a reflection of all of you. And the fact that I have this platform is only a testimony of the excellence that is existing around me. I'm not super special or anything, but you all are, and that's the point. And so this is a title that is only important to me because I get to share it with all of you, and I get to take that story of the rowdy 15-year-old, that story of the rowdy-er 13-year-old, and elevate it to a national platform, and also be a representation of the excellence that I've been around my entire life. And so, is that enough of my story? Did I do it? Okay. Okay. While I'm here, we're gonna get into some poetry, because I feel like I gotta show y'all what I got. I hope y'all like it. Oh my gosh, I'm scared. Okay, so in addition to being the National Youth Poet Laureate, I am, of course, a CUNY girl. You guys know this. You heard the bio. I just feel like I must give a shout out to all the amazing people who have been responsible for that video, for the crazy New York Times article that came out yesterday, for just this event, for everything. Oh my goodness. Do y'all know that we're the coolest school in the country? Oh my goodness. Thank you. Round of applause. No, truly, I feel like people think of a National Youth Poet Laureate, and they're waiting to hear about how the current National Youth Poet Laureate goes to an Ivy League school. Nah, I go to CUNY. That's cooler. Okay, CUNY by students. I love you. Manisha, Stanley, Marcus, who's here today, Jay, y'all are amazing. CUNY Central, all of you are literally the most talented people I've ever met. Every quality I hold is because it is a reflection of you. Thank you to the English department at BMCC. I give them so many shout outs, and they don't get why, but I love them. I'm at their office hours all the time, and I never leave their offices. They might be annoyed, but I love them so much. Shout out to Professor Adele Kudish and Professor Sharita McFadden, who have followed this entire journey with me. Thank you to the team here at Queensborough Community College. Y'all are so cool. It's such a nice campus. Oh my goodness, y'all have grass. You all are truly the best of what CUNY has to offer. Everybody in CUNY is the best that CUNY has to offer, so thank y'all. I think that we can get into poems now. Did I do enough talking? I did. I was nervous. Okay. Check me out. Check me out. I did talking. All right, so I have poems here today, many of which are surrounding the topic of what is justice. So many of my poems cover several social justice issues, but really, I feel like in the beginning, my second purpose for writing was to impact the world around me, but first, I wanted to talk about my identity and try to make sense of it, what it meant to be existing in the world, in the vessel that I have, and then how that can impact everyone around me. So we're gonna get into some poems, but first I feel like I have to give you all a crash course of what it means to be an engaged poetry audience. So we about to go into slam world really quickly, okay? So the thing about poetry is that when it is spoken and it is performed, it is more than just a reading. It now becomes a communal ritual, a communal experience, and I can't just be here alone. So I wanna hear you guys snap. Yeah. If I say something that resonates with you, give me some snaps. I want to hear you go, That was weak. Oh my goodness. No. One more time. If there's any line that stands out to you, if you feel shivers in your spine, if there's something that you see yourself in, feel free to give me that energy, because whatever energy you give me, I can give you right back. This is an experience that requires everybody in the room. Here we go. Okay, so this first poem that I have is a sort of list poem twisted on its head, in the spirit of taking mundane things and elevating them into a poetic status because they are already poetry. I remember when I was first getting into poetry slams and I was getting akin to the poets around me, I realized how much we all had in common just because we were from the same neighborhood or the same background, or if we had different identities, we were still connected through these certain things that we all just do. We never thought twice about it. We just all do them. And I was like, if we all do this, it's a kind of practice. It's a ritual. It's sacred. It's special. It's ours. And so I put a whole bunch of those into a list. And I feel like some of y'all in the room are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Because there is a ritual in our day-to-day. There's a sacredness in our day-to-day. There's a sacredness in the ways that we all come from lineages of resistance and survival, and that's what this poem is. So let's start talking about what justice is, okay? I'm sweating up here. Y'all got me activated, okay? That's why we got the Fiji water. Okay, this is important. Yes, exactly. Okay, ritual is, allegedly, hopping the train together. Ritual is gifting gold name chains to newborns. Ritual is pouring one out, is white candles lit into initials at a memorial. Ritual is balloons released into the sky, bowing to the altar. Sunday dinner. Ritual is backyard barbecues on the sidewalk, is bringing food across waters and calling it a different name. Ritual is electric sliding, cha-cha sliding, Cupid shuffling, shuffling a deck of Uno and trash talking because I love you. Ritual is slamming dominoes on tables, teaching youngins how to play spades as a rite of passage. It is naming our children after African proverbs we found again. Ritual is finding common language when all of our tongues point to our colonizers. Ritual is striking grammar into possession, using our bodies as instrument, drums for conversation, the clack of colorful beaded braids during double dutch. Ritual is cornrowing ourselves off of plantations. Ritual is F12, is hop higher, is running and asking no questions, is making survival stunning. Thank you. All right. Okay. I'm gonna sweat my good mascara off. It's something about poetry that really gets the spirit activated. Okay. Are y'all with me? Okay. Are y'all with me? Better. Energy. Okay. This next poem is inspired by another poet that I deeply admire. Her name is Mahogany L. Brown. She has this poem that she debuted around 2014 or something like that, in a very important moment in the Black Lives Matter movement, where the entire poem it's real like mind-boggling. The entire poem is her saying the title of this poem is, and she goes down a whole list of what she could title the poem. She was telling a story of her experience in America as a Black woman. And I saw that and I was like, this is crazy. I got something to say. So this poem is called Titles for My Memoir, A Brainstorm. Or in other words, if I were to come up for a title of the story of my life, this is what I would think. The title of my memoir will be, Imagine If the World Wasn't Burning and We Weren't Drowning in Its Ash, or Earth, Please Don't Die. You have so many flowers left. You're the most beautiful place I've lived. Or this is Aventura's next album. Or Love Letter to Ices and Dollar Pastelitos. Or Mom, I forgive you for being the first country that didn't love me back. Or Black indigeneity, a folklore. Or my name is a colony, or the dictionary says Black Latinas don't exist, or too much text says I don't exist, or they are banning books I haven't written yet, or I'm so lucky I've lived to tell this story, or I still have survivor's guilt, or this is dedicated to my middle school classmates listening to poems from jail cells, or this is learning how to breathe when your body is South Bronx air pollution. Or one time, a whiteboard teacher at my brown brick school called me wasted potential, and this is my formal response to her. Or an insider's guide to what is only spoken of in theory. Or I am not responsible for my oppression, but I'm about to make my freedom everyone's problem. Thank you. Okay. I'm still sweating off my good mascara. Okay. Y'all are being an amazing, phenomenal audience. I have a couple more poems for you all. So right now, it goes without saying that we are in a very strange period in American history. But like, we're kind of always in a strange period in American history is the unfortunate thing. So at some point last year, when there was word of the upcoming 2024 presidential election, I took a second to reflect about my perception of what a leader is and can be. And this is especially important right now, my gosh. But I was also inspired by another poet whose name is Inez Smith. They have this poem that they published in around 2016 titled My Presidents, where they go and they talk about all these people in their community, in their day-to-day, that they would elect as their president. And I was like, this is delightful, because I have already met every leader that I need. So I decided to write that poem of electing everybody in my community into this presidential status, because we too are our own leaders. And that is all I will say about this current administration. Okay, this is titled Election Poem. I'm sweating, okay. I elect the dopest old head who sits in the benches of the courtyard of our building, always playing a 70s or 80s tune that reminds him of youth and the good old days. He has the meanest playlist, the kindest hands, and has never needed to know my name to greet me in the morning. I don't know if he knows I write poetry. I wonder if he has ever written a garden on a page, or if he is just the poem. Today, he is the ruler of rulers. And I elect the empanada man on 188th, who put his entire chest into his cooking. I mean, those are the best empanadas I've ever had. Who taught you how to flick island into a bowl of ground chicken? Who taught you the gentleness of folding dough onto itself like a love letter? Who was it that reminded you that food can bring a song to life? Well, whatever it was, put it on a bill because we're passing it. I vote for the woman with the soft voice who stood guard over the cashier at the Jamaican spot on Gun Hill, who gifted me an extra beef patty because they were closing, they had extra, and that's just how we roll. For mayor, I choose the girl who dances the spirit out of her body and sends her fears into the Hudson River. For city council, I choose those middle school classmates with metal bar enclosed bedrooms in a prison turned makeshift lecture hall. I choose them to be the first memory ingrained into the fingertips of financial departments every time a city budget is made. I elect the righteous auntie running the block who is already the speaker of her house, and I choose my loyal hair braider and the beauty supply store that has seasonal discounts and the deli man who made me a sandwich even after he cleaned the grill, and the teachers striking in Oakland, and the kids reading their own band stories in Florida, and the queer kids in the South who call their lives their own, and the black girl who just declared her afro as her favorite hairstyle, and the kids screaming out for mercy in both hometowns and homelands, and the students and the poets. My gosh, I elect the poets, maybe. Our bodies are already built as compasses, maybe. I already have a home country, maybe. I don't want a home country at all. I just wonder what certain songs sound like when you turn up the volume, what fruit a garden produces when you let the water pour. Thank you. Ooh, okay. How are we feeling? Okay, all right. So I have, I'm throwing my notebook everywhere as I fan the sweat on my face. It's the lights, you know what I'm saying, and the energy. It'll work up a sweat. So these last two poems that I have to share are some of my favorites. It's only fitting that I share an early draft of the poem that you all watched in that video. It'd be incorrect if I didn't. So, when I was talking to my friends at CUNY by students and they were like, you should write a poem about CUNY, I was like, there's so much to say, girl. You can't just give me an assignment like that. I'm already allegedly late on my discussion boards. You can't be telling me to do that. But when I truly sat down to reflect on my time at BMCC and my time as a CUNY student in general, once I put pen on paper, the story was just flowing. And this is, again, me trying to elevate even the mundane into a story of excellence, because that is the truth. So this is Love Letter to CUNY / Dear CUNY / Dear My Community College. It's whatever title you want it to be. Okay, here we go. It's an early draft. You guys are getting like a VIP presentation. This is so special. Oh my goodness, yes, VIP. Oh my goodness. Very important poets. Exactly. Okay. If I'm sweating my makeup off, edit that before you put it on the Instagram story. Okay. Dear Community College, I can't talk about you without a train rattling the earth in the background, without the post-class hangout spot coming into the conversation. I can't paint your graceful portrait without the mention of the campus lawns we lay on that hold us warm in our presence and right of us in our absence. I can't talk about you without mentioning our mascot. I met him in the gym once at a club fair, and it was insane. A larger-than-life panther, a body composed of the spirit of all of our beating hearts, our mascot, the breakdancer, the once-in-a-blue-moon guest star appearance. Dear Community College, you taught me the art of learning how to fall asleep anywhere, in lounge chairs, on the 2 train, on my homework. You taught me the art of making any place my home. Dear Community College, I want to tell you about my mom, who dreamt of attending a college like mine, who told me when I walked on my campus to whisper to the hallways and ask if they remembered her, who taught me if the bathroom tiles forget her name, if the chalkboards told me they cannot pronounce the syllables of her body, then I must be the one to carry her memory like lecture, my school of impossible nostalgia. Dear Community College, you taught me how beautiful the city is when it sleeps. The brightest galaxies in the sky are our city lights. When they replace the sun, nothing is between us and the future. No plane of existence can swallow me here. This is for the professors who taught me how to laugh in a classroom, who in me saw a dream, who said, don't nobody got nothing on us, said, envision the world I want and be bold enough to write it, who gave me printed versions of their syllables to write my poems on the back of. Dear CUNY, I don't know of any other school that runs its city like you, that paints its town with its face like you. Everywhere I turn, every building is a student. Every train cart is a classroom. Every leader I need already lives in me. Every philosopher I know wears a tote bag and hangs out at my library. My favorite scriptures are those I have to reserve using my school library's website. This is for my librarians. You know, sometimes I do ignore the emails about my overdue books. I'm sorry. They tell me I renew too often. They actually tell me I haven't renewed my loan at all. I'm confessing to a lot in front of y'all. But at least the only loan I've acquired is at my school library. The only debt I owe is to them, to you all, the magnificent holders of knowledge, you all, who remind me to dream like our city lights, to be that kind of impossible. To the impeccable cleaning staff and cafeteria chefs, the people who built pyramids in Egypt modeled their precision after you. I thank you for your hands. I thank you for what they have created for me to live in. You know, I remember when it would be 11 p.m. and the only thing between me and my sleep was an essay that I knew I wouldn't do if I went home. I'm telling y'all too much. It would be just me and you on the entire campus. Just me and these folks who made everything they touched shine, who are responsible for the creation of stars. This poem is for everything that keeps a boat floating, for the makers and shakers, for the thinkers and dreamers, for those of us who dare, for everyone whose parents bet their life on the ocean between their homelands and here, and prayed for children on the way, for those who live by train tracks in the spaces below, coming and going, who bet their lives on impossible destinations, for those of us who are determined to create a coliseum of the collective, for those of us who write and sing and study, dance, build, teach, care, and love like our breath depends on it, because it does. We are no one's lower class. We are nobody's other. Rejoice in this sanctuary, in our classroom turned temple. Come, join me. Thank you. All right. All right. Okay. So, if we can squeeze this last poem in, it would be my honor. I'm sweating all my makeup off. Lord, my goodness, don't post my mascara running on Instagram Reels. Spare me. Okay, but actually do post, just edit the mascara off. Okay, so this last poem is truly one of my favorites. It follows that story of lifting up the mundane, of talking about what justice looks like by first telling my story and the story of the community around me. This is the poem that I got to share on the Kennedy Center stage when I won the National Youth Poet Laureate title. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So it is very special to me, and knowing how many CUNY students come from the New York City public school system, those of us who don't fly here but grow here, I know we're gonna get this story. So I'll close out with this. This is truly the best introduction I can give you all to me. This is the best snapshot of my heart. I thank you all again for having me, and we'll close out with this before a delicious Q&A, okay? Start brewing your questions and your poems and whatnot. Okay, shock me. I'm already shocked, I'm sweating. Okay, so here we go. This is the big sister of my first poem ever. This is where I'm from. Field trips called for a walk to the bodega the morning of. Demanded a bacon, egg, and cheese of my $5. Said, we gon' eat before we go to the Bronx Zoo. Always on the D train, always on Wednesdays, always free entry. The train was us hood kids' magic vessel into Wonderland. We made steel poles our enchanted forest, wished upon the stars of its lights, and tapped our feet to the sound of the underground roar. We say the most Bronx trip you could attend was the Bronx Zoo. Was the one that was cheapest for the school budget, was the one that all of our mommies could afford, was the other place where caged beings live. Say, the mark of nativity is watching other beings in capture, is being a witness to the cage, is celebrating the fact that at least we voyage together. Say, we dream of home too. I say I'm from New York, and I mean I've been going to the same braiding shop on Fordham since I was 11. I found the rhythm of fingers twirling my hair into soil and blossom and named it my favorite beat. I say I'm from New York, and I mean I recite Hey Ma by Cameron and Dile al Amor by Aventura in my sleep. I mean I dream of song. These be the gospel tunes that made block aunties and tias jump up in praise. I mean, La Pompa was our baptism, and these streets are my church. I say, I began to count the pigeons, how they became holy in my chest too. You black-winged angel, you remind us all of flight. I mean, we dance to anything. The no music clap applies to all situations. It fills the void of disremembering. I say light feet, and we stomp hard, and we don't stay still. I say I'm from New York, and I mean my high school didn't have a gym or an auditorium or a first week ritual that didn't involve a memorial. I mean, they keep trying to shut down my library to build a precinct in its place. I mean, I learned my poverty by learning other people's wealth. I say underfunded. I say we hungry. I say I am song. I say concrete palace. I say my mother built this. I say my people are buried here, so it must be mine. I say I hold these bodies like the ground does, and I mean, I'm gonna make it home, mama. I mean, this city won't swallow me. I mean, this country can't pick me from its teeth. I mean, we gon' eat before we go. I mean, we coming. I mean, we here. I mean, if these city lights are my stars, then I'm not too far from them at all. I mean, if the pigeons can fly, then I can too. I say we black and brown and poor and trans and queer, we're eternal. We build, so we burn. It is cultural practice to refuse to die. Thank you. That's it. Okay. All right. Thank you all so much for being an impeccable audience and for missing the stains of makeup on my dress in your Instagram pictures. Thank you. Now I believe if the mic is still on me. It is. Yes. We have some time for audience question and answer. So if you guys have any questions about me or my poetry or my journey or what this specific line means or what products I use in my hair, please do ask. The floor is open. Yeah. We have microphones.
Microphones set up.
Yes.
Stand on up. If you're loud, you won't need a microphone.
Yes. I'm very loud. And I still have 2 microphones. I do. This is open to students and faculty, anybody in the room who has any question or any comment, any note. Yes?
What inspired you to start writing poems?
So the question is, what inspired me to begin writing poems? And My answer truly is I'm inspired by everything and everyone around me. I feel like you can kind of hear that shine through in my poems. My poems are about literally the world that I exist in. From a very young age, that was always my inspiration. I would look up and outside my window and put down on paper what I saw, and all the stories wrote themselves from there. So I get inspiration truly from everything. And also being that I'm from New York City, which you also heard in my poems, I get a lot of inspiration from music, from bachata and salsa and hip hop and rap and all that good stuff. All of that rhythm also finds its way into my work. I didn't have to do anything extravagant, like go on like a hiking trip to Europe or anything to get inspiration for my poetry. All the poems were already around me waiting to be written. Yeah. Any other questions from anybody? I'm an open book. Haha. Yes.
I guess I'll just speak up. How do you overcome performance anxiety?
Ooh.
I know that's like a
You should have
curveball,
seen
but, like-
me sitting right here like, I don't know if I'm going to say the right words. Thank you, Beth, for the pep talk. The performance anxiety still comes every once in a while, truly. Especially when I like really want to impress the crowd that I'm speaking in front of. I like really wanted to impress y'all. This feels like a very fancy event. So when I'm like in a big room and I'm about to say a lot of poems to a lot of people, sometimes I still get nerves that I have to shake off. And that, I mean, I can tell you to take some real good deep breaths, and that helps. I can tell you drink some water, and that helps. But really, you just have to do it even if you're afraid. And that's how I learned to get comfortable on stage. I went up there even if I was petrified of what I was saying in my poems, because I said a lot of things in my poems, and I was afraid of how audiences may or may not receive them. But really, what I learned, the real way to overcome performance anxiety is, again, doing it even if you're afraid and using those nerves to fuel your performance. And truly, at this point, every time that I get on stage, it feels like the world stops and the room is silent, and all that exists in me is me and my words. And then from there, it gets much easier. But know that even in rooms that you're nervous to speak in front of, there will always be at least one person that deeply resonates with everything you said. It always happens. I was recently literally in Mississippi. Before then I was in India. And still, there will at least be one person who resonates with everything that you have to say. And trust that, and believe that, and know that you have nothing to be afraid of because the world is ready for you. Yeah. Yes. I wish I could throw my mic to you. But please do.
Share a little bit about your process for writing?
Yes.
Drafting, how you decide when a poem is done.
And isn't this the question? Okay, I wanna paint you a little picture. I recently decided to do spring cleaning, right? And a whole bunch of decluttering and throwing out things that I don't need, the whole refresh your space kind of thing. And when I tell you, it has been so difficult because I can't just throw out a stack of papers because I have poems written on napkins, on gum wrappers, on my school syllabus, on everything. Part of my process is letting the poem come out when it arrives. And sometimes that means writing on random Post-it notes, writing on tissue paper, just writing. So part of my process is getting my ideas down on paper and then later sitting with those ideas and seeing what story is being told through what I've gathered. I feel like a lot of my practice has to do, and this is kind of such a whimsical writer thing to say, but truly my only desire is to be a vessel for the poems that I write. And I really mean it when I say that the best poems that I've written kind of write themselves. So I kind of listen to the ideas that come to me as they do. This is so nerdy writer talk, but really it's how it happens. I listen to the ideas. I sometimes research to find, extra details I need to put in my poems, which is important when you're writing about the world. You want to do so accurately, but really, I sit, I give myself the time, I let pen touch paper, and most often the rest kind of does itself. I also go through a revision process where I kind of piece things together, move things around, and what you'll notice with poetry is that if you change just even the order of one or two lines, the entire story changes. So I try to use those kind of technical skills to let the story shine through. But really, as whimsical as it sounds, I just try to be a vessel for the stories that are needed. It's kind of nerdy. Is that nerdy? I'm sorry. Any other questions? Yes, over here.
How do you overcome writer's block?
Oh, and isn't that always the question too? So I personally, when I feel stuck writing something, I hope I don't have mascara running on my face. Would you guys tell me if I did? Okay. So personally, when I am struggling to write a story, or when that story that wants to come through is struggling to find its way out, I tend to return to the things that I know give me inspiration. So what I was mentioning earlier, I get a lot of inspiration from just being around people, being in rooms like this, being in my community, listening to the kind of music that I grew up listening to, and also like going down those YouTube rabbit holes that got me into poetry to begin with. I return to the things that ignited my entire journey, the things that I know really inspire me, and I gather information from that and let that fuel the poem or poems or essays or short stories or whatever it is that I'm writing. I let that fuel them that way. But if you ask any of my mentors, any of the poets that I'm in community with, they'd say that writer's block doesn't exist, which is so much easier said than like experienced. Because when you feel writer's block, you really feel it. So it's hard to like convince yourself that it's not real, because it feels very real. But my mentors say, a lot of the poets that I learned from, they say that we get like concept block, we get like anxiety block, we get too nervous about making sure that we're writing the perfect poem or that we're, documenting this intricate and abstract concept correctly. We get nervous about everything else outside of the writing or in the context of the writing. And sometimes you just need to write and let it be whatever it is. Let it be bad at first and go back to it later, but just write. So those are like the two parts of my response. One, go back to the things that you already know, speak to your spirit. And two, just do it, even if it's difficult. The only way out is through. That's corny, but it's true. Any other questions? Yes.
Where has your poetry taken you across the world? I know earlier you said you've been to India.
Yes, where has my poetry taken me? So I've been able to travel internationally, which is crazy because literally New Yorkers don't leave New York. And so that wasn't a thing that I even perceived as possible before, but I've been able to travel to India with the U.S. consulate over there and do workshops and all that kind of fun stuff with the young people, the students, the educators over there, and that was really amazing. I've been able to travel to different places around the country that I otherwise would not why would I go to Mississippi? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But there was so much there once I arrived. I loved Mississippi. It was excellent. But anyway, the point is I've been able to travel to different places, and no matter where you are on a map, you will find people who want poetry. It's mind-blowing, truly. Everywhere that I've gone has had so many amazing communities of writers and of listeners that were just hungry for other people's stories. So I've been able to grace a little handful of stages. And it's been an amazing experience, and I think it might just be the beginning. So, yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
How long does poem take to write?
How long does a poem take to write? Oh, great heavens. It depends on the poem. Some poems kind of they just get out in one sitting. Other poems I've been trying to write for 3 years because it's difficult. It's difficult. Again, the whole letting the writer be the vessel, all that, philosophical talk. But still, sometimes it takes a while for poems to arrive and to be completed. So it depends. It depends. It's different for every writer. It's also different for every piece of writing. Yeah. Yes.
What are some poets that influence their poems?
Some poets that influence my poetry. This is I have consumed so much poetry in my time, and it's because I did it on purpose. I forgot to mention that a big part of my process is, I guess I kind of mentioned it, the consuming of art. So I've watched a whole bunch of plays. Thank God for comp tickets. I've watched a whole bunch of plays. I've listened and read so many poems, and I've consumed so much language, and there's still so much more to consume that it's difficult to like pinpoint exactly who has had the biggest influence. But I will say, generally, I look for poets that feel like a reflection of me in some way. I look to see how other like Black and Latino women articulate their stories. I look to see how other people from New York articulate their stories. And I'm tremendously inspired by all the people who have come before me. Just to give some specific names, because I feel like y'all are probably waiting for names. Some of the people that I mentioned that inspired some of my poems today, Danette Smith is truly such a prolific writer. Denise Froman is also another amazing writer who is from New York. But specifically, I have been most inspired by other like very young people who do poetry. So in my aforementioned YouTube rabbit holes, I would like come across these videos from specifically this huge international poetry festival called Brave New Voices that invites young people, literally like teens from all across the world to compete in a poetry slam. And all of those slams are archived on YouTube. And when I tell you, watching like 16-year-olds go and like lay their hearts out on stage, it completely changed like the hardwiring of my brain into what was possible for me in my story. So I'd say I'm inspired by like so many poets, but I feel like I invite you all to try and find the poets that inspire you and touch you in a very specific way, because then like absorbing other people's words will allow you to find language for your own story. So that's a very long-winded way to not really give an answer, but I hope that helps. I'm just a girl, I said that, I'm sorry. Any other questions? Yes.
Question about vulnerability and honesty.
Yes.
So, when you do write your things, do you ever look back at a line or sentence and think to yourself, maybe I wasn't being authentic as I should have been?
Yes. Do I ever look at lines and think that I wasn't as authentic as I could have been? Absolutely. There was a point in my time as a poet, specifically when I started like trying to be a youth poet laureate, or like when that opportunity came about, there was a point where I was convinced that poetry was too fancy for me, that like writing was too fancy for me, that there wasn't, oh my gosh, I have alarms, I'm sorry, I'm truly just a girl. There was a point where I was like, I'm not fancy enough to be a poet. My stories aren't fancy enough. Who on earth would want to hear what I have to say? Like, what does it matter? And then I started trying to sound like all these other historic writers that like, I don't know, write really pretty poems about like trees and leaves and doves and things. And like, they're the ones that were being studied in higher education. And so they were the ones that I thought I had to be. And so I started writing poems that were like really wordy and I don't know, it was that. And I realized that I was doing such a disservice to myself, to my younger self, and also to the people that are looking for me. Like people who are looking for a public college student to say what their experience in this world has been like. For people who are looking for someone who is from New York City, who has this background. Like there are people who are looking for you specifically. And if you're hiding yourself, then they can't find you. And that's what my struggle became. I was trying to morph myself into like a fancy, I don't know, like British poet. I'm not British. Like, it just wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was trying to fit a mold that wasn't for me. And once I dropped that, once I was like, y'all, this just is what it is. This is my story. This is what I know. This is what I have to say. Once I let that just be, once I let my truth just exist, that's when it felt like the world opened up for me. Because now all of a sudden, everyone who was hungry for my story specifically saw me for exactly who I was. So yes, I have experienced that, and I hope I never put myself in a position to experience it again. You are your most valuable when you are just letting yourself be exactly who you are. You are already enough. Yes. Is that it? Okay. Thank you all so much.